welcome to the edition of our show, Money Means Business. And we always say also, and business means money. Stability and business and a lot of other things mean a lot of money. Like the situation we're in, the whole world is in with the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, and the repercussions of this pandemic on the economies of the world. Well, life is going on, and we're still working, especially, that we have to work harder, under the threats also of this pandemic, and the problems and the dangers that it forms and it means, if anybody is infected by that. And in the whole world right now, infections with the second wave are rising. Anyway, we do have a lot to talk about, and we do have important meetings that took place today with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli that said that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi asserted the importance of boosting cooperation with Iraq. This is one thing. So Madbouli's remarks came during talks held between the Egyptian and the Iraqi sides, which comes within the framework of completing what has been agreed upon during the past months, especially after the successful visit of Prime Minister Madbouli and the Egyptian ministerial delegation to Baghdad to hold the Joint High Committee. During the talks with Iraq's Minister of Planning, Khalid Batal, Madbouli said that a tripartite summit between Egypt, Iraq and Jordan will be held during the first quarter of next year to announce the package of joint projects between the three countries. The Premier asserted the importance of developing an implementation mechanism so that preparations for the next tripartite summit can be completed. Also, another meeting with the visiting Jordanian delegation with the attendance of a number of ministers and executives took place. Madbouli stressed the importance of boosting cooperation in certain fields and to go forward with consultations between the Jordanian Ministry of Industry and the Egyptian Ministry of International Cooperation to activate the work of the Joint Technical Committee. The Premier also highlighted the necessity to enhance mutual cooperation with Jordan or trilateral cooperation with the inclusion of Iraq in the field of energy, whether in electricity or oil and natural gas, expressing hope that the concerned ministers will resume contacts to follow up with the implementation of the previously signed deals. This is one thing. Another thing, and also the Ministry of Transportation said in a statement on Saturday that the Cairo-based Arab Bridge Maritime Company has discussed a proposal of establishing a unified ticketing system to facilitate road transportation between Jordan, Egypt and Iraq. The proposal was discussed through the 75th meeting of the General Assembly of the Arab Bridge Maritime, which was attended by Minister of Transportation Kamel Wazir, as well as his Jordanian and Iraqi counterparts Marwan Khaitan and Nassar Hussein. The General Assembly meeting tackled the technical condition of the ships and vessels of the Arab Bridge Company and the repercussions of the coronavirus pandemic on the company's activity, business and financial results during the past period. And we have with us our guest, Dr. Saeed Al-Khouli, the Professor of Management and also head of the Promotion Committee of the Supreme Council of Universities. And welcome, sir, as usual, in our program.
The pleasure is mine.
The pleasure is ours also. And we'll go for a short break, after which we'll be coming back.
Sure.
And we'll start our talk. Stay tuned to us. Don't go away. We're coming back in a moment. We're back again to Money Means Business. And our guest, Dr. Said Al-Khouli, Professor of Management and also the head of the Promotion Committee of the Supreme Council of Universities. Welcome again, sir, with us.
Thank you again.
Well, as you've seen, well, the meeting today with Madbouli, the Prime Minister, Dr. Madbouli, with the Jordanian and Iraqi counterparts in order to boost cooperation in the different fields, of course, and which is very, very important and significant these days.
Absolutely, and the result of opening and building bridges and tunnel from the mainland to Sinai, where we are going to have a major highway road. It goes from Egypt to Jordan to Iraq. Remember, after the revolution in Iraq, after the war in Iraq, there is a lot of infrastructure project which Egypt will be a major player in building or rebuilding Iraq again. And it opened a very good economic opportunity for Egyptian construction company, also communication and power supply. It will be a major investment from Jordanian and from Iraq into the Egyptian economy. Also, this one ticket where you go from Egypt to Jordan to Iraq with one ticket, it is a very, very essential thing for our labor forces to go, for construction labor to go in an easy way with one ticket. That's a good news. I believe the Minister of Transportation doing a great job to get this kind of opportunity. And Dr. Madbouli, the Prime Minister of Egypt, he's doing a lot of work in recent years, and getting a lot of investment goes to the Egyptian economy. I believe that is a plus for the Egyptian economy.
Definitely. Also, sir, well, we'd like to talk about the event that everybody is celebrating, and we need really to celebrate in action, and that's the International Anti-Corruption Day, which is very, very important with the world facing corruption, and corruption is very rife in lots of institutions. And also when President Sisi came to power, he vowed to fight corruption, and he said actually that day that all Egyptians are the same in front of equal in front of the law.
December 9th, that's the International Day for Anti-Corruption, and the good news, Egypt now they have the National Academy for Anti-Corruption, which it is the first in the Arab world. It is the first in Africa to have a National Academy for Anti-Corruption. Basically, where in this academy, they teach all people will hold an official position in all different ministry and all different organization, which is public sector or private sector, whether it is for profit organization or non-profit organization, where they train them how to govern their business and their organization and their ministry. I believe with this kind of academy will play a very major role, not only in Egypt, but all the Arab world will come and come for training in this academy, and also African nation. Basically, they have several courses to teach or train people how to govern, which we call it as a good governance, which is simply built in a triangle of three pillars. First of all organization must have a strategy. All organization must have a vision. Yeah. All organization, which is whatever it's public or private, should have goals, and we should really achieve these goals in a very clean way. And anti-corruption, as a result of anti-corruption governance, is a good solution for that. And this academy work hard in order to, for example, I believe about 53,000 participate in national program right now, and they extend their effort to go to other Arab countries and also other African countries. So Egypt play a very important role, and that is because of the leadership of the Egyptian president, where he really want to have a clean business. We want to have a very effective and efficient work for our government and our public sector.
Definitely, this is a quantum leap actually in this domain. As we just started the new era and rebuilding Egypt since the president took office, well, there have been a lot of change. And how do you see in the different domains, well, fighting corruption, when it started, is not, like per se like that, but then with the different activities, with the renewal of things, with rebuilding of the different the systems actually that we are seeing in every institution, things are changing drastically. Well, how did that affect corruption that was really rife and rampant right now with the different domains, more or less?
Another domain which is in the triangle, we talked about strategy. The other domain is the system itself.
Yeah.
And remember, a few years ago, the Egyptian government started to have what we call it as a digital transformation. Digital transformation is a very good means for successfully fight over anti-corruption. Digitalizing the system, it brings a lot of, when you're dealing with computerization, all of this in all different sectors, it really limit the level of corruption. Historical wise, we have corruption years ago, thousands of years ago. It is not a new thing, but with digital transformation, it's really limit the corruption in our public sector. I believe we are going in the right direction. The third domain in this triangle is the people itself.
Yeah.
So now in Egypt, we have a different value system. We have a new value system. Remember, President Sisi, a couple of years ago, he said very important thing, which is not really covered in the media, which is building the Egyptian personality. And building the Egyptian personality, it simply means building Egyptian value, where we really we should educate that in our early age in school, in public school and in private school, and to be loyal to the flag of Egypt, to be loyal for the national anthem of Egypt, to be loyal to the culture of Egyptian culture. I believe with this kind of three pillar, we are going in the right. So the government now, and especially with the leadership with President Sisi, we are working in the three pillar. Now we are demanding for all public sector to have their own strategy and to be able to govern. We have to go for digital transformation, and most of the public sector now go for enterprise resource planning, which is totally computerized system. And this, in the long run, a very good tool for eliminating corruption in our public sector.
Definitely.
And in private sector also.
Definitely. And well, the education system, the corruption in it, we had, let's focus on, there was like a problem and we did not really find a solution for it, and that's the special private lessons that were given, and the different problems emanating from that. And in this problem now with the new systems and with the COVID-19 dictating us to have long distance, let's say, or like with the internet some days, teaching like that. How is the control of the level of corruption within that system, and that the educational system, let's say?
We saw it last year, for example, when we have in late March, when they start to close school and so on, where the Ministry of Education really, they have no means for examining the students, so they asked them in all different level, even in university, we ask a student to write a piece of paper or a research paper in order to get their grade based on the research project, without informing the student how to do research and so on. So they start to go for private entity where they really did this kind of research for them, and they handed or email it to their institution. I believe we are learning from this lesson, and this year whether in pre-university or university, we insist on having exams, whether it's in-class exam or online exam. Basically, we are working right now in our educational system, whether we are talking about public or private school, on what we call it as hybrid type of education. Hybrid education is simply you have some days, like a couple of days in class teaching face-to-face, and the other days it goes online through different internet means like Microsoft, like Team and Zoom and so on. So we are working hard to have our educational system going. Remember, there is most of the university in the States for the last 10 months right now, they have their education only online. There is no classes, there is no open classes. In some schools in New York open for a couple of weeks and then you close down again. I believe we are in good shape and really building a strategy from the beginning with the COVID-19 crisis. The government took a very immediate action by supplementing the economy with about 100 billion Egyptian pound to support the education, to support small business, to support tourism and so on. And it really pay off. And nothing really stopped, we didn't really stop our economic development.
Definitely. Well, also an important, and everything is all interrelated, and Egypt is rebuilding and going ahead very fast to be in the forefront, and a lot has been achieved since, well, in very few years. And the visit of President Sisi to France has very important indication. How do you see that? Or let's say indications.
I was really proud, and my family was proud, and most of the Egyptians, all Egyptians were so proud of the reception of France as government, as president, as prime minister, as the Congress and the Senate of France, with the reception of Egyptian president. In that kind of reception we saw, I never seen it for any other president visit France before. And that is, it shows you the importance of our leader, and really, and he received also a very, very prestigious award from France. And really, the way President Sisi, he is not really offensive in his talk, and he resolved the issue of the caricature, for example, for Prophet Muhammad in a very, very nice way. He let them understand our religion, let them understand our culture, and how really we got really a negative feedback from the Egyptian towards this kind of things. And they understand that and they respect that, and it shows in the reception and all business deal. We have signed a lot of protocol with France.
Yeah, actually, you know, one really fears, let's say, the culture or the habits that we don't understand, or ideas that we don't understand when the West didn't know, or the non-Islamic, when they just talk about Sharia. Sharia is like, means, death means this, means that. Well, they don't know the real, or the understanding, because some other people misuse the conceptions or concepts, and well, plant other concepts and use it in, let's say, terrorism and to scare the others. So not knowing the culture of others, the reality of others, the religion of others, so not being acquainted with that engenders fears. So I think that was a bit easy, at least when President Sisi explained so that others think, like when they just hurt the feelings of others, insulting religions. We cannot insult other religions because, like Muslims believe in Christianity, in Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, because you cannot, you cannot be a Muslim unless you believe in the other religions that came before, preceding Islam. So no one can, as a Muslim, can go and insult any the figures, the prophets of the other religions. But it's making us, just giving the right picture to the other let's say societies and those who differ in terms of religious understandings and social norms, explaining to them the concepts instead of getting them from those who misuse them or misunderstand them and then give it as an example of a Muslim.
Of course, the growth rate in Egypt and the development we saw in the last few years put Egypt in a different position. And remember, there is a lot of forces which not everybody with you. And if you recall, for the last 6 months, Egypt, it have a very strong relationship with European nation, with America, with Russia, and with Africa. We were the leading country in Africa and in the Arab world. And that is a success of our leadership. And with all this development, with all this growth, with all this mega project, it happened in Egypt, there is a lot of forces. They don't want to see things like that happen. And one approach to that is religion. Religion, they use it in order there is people understand, I believe, Islam, it should come from Al-Azhar. And that is a very respected institution worldwide. And the language of Al-Azhar, it's really in the middle of all different religions. And remember, we have really make some kind of agreement years ago with the Vatican, where we're dealing with the Christianity through the Vatican, for example, and Judaism, and we respect all of this religion. Egypt, it is really a country where most of the religion established here in Egypt. Moses was in Sinai in Egypt, which we are blessed of that. Jesus Christ, for example, Jesus was in Egypt also, and really Islam, it was in Saudi Arabia, but most of the scientists or most of the thinker comes from Egypt when it comes to Islam. So Egypt believe, or Egyptian in general, we are not letting anybody divide us in terms of religion. And these forces which play behind the scene or under the table in order to make a division in the Egyptian unity and to change the image of Egypt in the West. Of course, the visit of President Sisi, it really answer all these questions and really attack all negative forces against Egypt.
Well, at least also he was very open about that and just said, we have them on the list, and they've been working in that and inciting, well, let's say, over every evil against all the society and in other societies, politically speaking, about the so-called Muslim Brotherhood and others too. So he was very explicit about that.
Absolutely, and they understand that whether it's most of the European nation. Even in Germany, where they were really a side of Muslim Brotherhood years ago when Morsi was in power. And thanks God, really, and I believe all Egyptians should understand the role President Sisi played to take major risk in order to really save this country and put it on the right track.
Internally speaking and externally speaking.
Absolutely, internally and externally. Most of Europe were against us in the beginning, but now we have a very, very positive relationship with Europe. We have a very positive relationship with Canada, with United States, and we have a leading role in the Middle East and in Africa. And that is really hurt a lot of people who are against us, and the people who are resisting the major change it happened in Egypt.
Yes, yes. Well, we go for a short break, after we should be coming back, resuming our talk. Stay tuned to us, don't go away. We're back again to Money Means Business with our guest, Dr. Said Al-Khouli. And Dr. Said Al-Khouli, well, a lot, you know, we see that Egypt is growing, boosting, the economy is boosted, and it's the second growing economy in the world. It's really a lot of work on all domains and on all spheres in order to, well, have, let's say, a boost in all domains. This is one thing. Education, that is very important, taking care of the person, building the person from childhood, and of course, you know, like giving him the right education, and of course, you know, like not allowing the fanatic ideas or notions and others, you know, fanaticism to come, you know, like to approach them, especially that we for some time suffered from that. So now, right now with the education and changing a lot in education, you know, from let's say to kindergarten right now to universities, and that's very important. And the changes with every situation taking place, especially the COVID-19 that we're passing through, that changed a lot in everything. So what is going on in the sphere, especially university education?
Basically, we always say education before COVID and after COVID.
Definitely.
We learned a lot of lessons from the crisis of COVID-19, of course. First of all, to have, which I always recommended years ago, we should have at least 25% of our teaching method. It should depend online. Of course, COVID-19 forced us to use it because school and university were closed for a period of time.
Yeah.
But remember, the educational process is going on. What other alternative if we don't have online means of teaching our kids?
Yeah.
If you close and no education, and people will lose a year from their life, and we didn't have that in Egypt. Of course, we learned also through doing like a project and so on. We teach our students, whether in high school, in prep school, and so on, even in KG, creativity and how to be innovative and so on, to develop idea, to develop a new idea. And the government really investing on that, how to come up with idea, and the government support your project if you have a good idea and really get credit for that, and he can sponsor you with a budget and money in order to get your idea to reality. So COVID-19, after COVID-19, we learned it, and we have to depend on some part of our educational system online. We weren't prepared for it, but now each school, each university have their own platform for using online system. Also, we learned to part of, instead of knowing things or knowing knowledge by heart, we should be creative and innovative in our classroom for our kids to provide a new sites. And of course, the government invested heavily in the Egyptian Knowledge Bank, which is a very good source of education.
Yeah.
Now, most of the school, international schools, you move from textbook, paper book, where a student look into it,
yes,
to tablet, where they have it, all these textbook or reference and so on. It will be on the tablet, where a student can really look in their tablet. So there is no paper textbook anymore, and you started to do that in the university also. In a couple of weeks from now, we'll have our final exam for the first semester, and the process is going. Life goes on.
Yeah.
We live with Corona, and remember, most of our neighbor around us, most of the country around us in the Middle East, their growth rate now in the negative side. It is the only country in this region, they are in the positive growth rate. The GDP is 3.6 in a positive part.
Yeah.
It is the Egyptian, and the project, the mega project, the roads, the infrastructure, the mega project is still going on and so on. So to shut down business, shut down economy has a very negative effect in the long run. Look what happened in Europe. Look what happened in the States, for example. That is one of the biggest country worldwide. Look at the division they have between Republic and Democrat right now. I believe most of the European nation and the United States will face a winter. They used to call it Arab Spring. I believe it's European winter. It's coming very soon, because now
It'll
we
be
have
terribly cold.
absolutely. They have a division between blue and red, between Democratic and Republic, between special interest group and other group and so on. So we start to see that. So it has a very negative effect, COVID-19, which is so, it shows how is the value system of these people or this country look like. But Egypt, after COVID-19, stand together, helping each other. Remember, we don't have people die from hunger. Look at the food bank in Europe and in the States, where you cannot find food to put in the table for many family in Europe and in the States. We don't have that in Egypt. Thank God, we have a hard time. All of us have a hard time, but we survive, and we are united together, and that is the value of Egyptian people.
Well, you know, as you're talking about that, and also we about to talk about the health system, I got, well, when I posted one of the programs and online, and then I got a reaction from a friend of mine in the States, and she said, well, I see you going to work. How is it with the COVID-19? Do you go to work? And I was like, that's really strange. Yes, we go to work, we work, we go out to everything, but you know, we're trying to be careful. But it's not like the States, it's not like Europe. What's going on? It's like there are rules, of course. You know, like shops close at a certain times, and you know, like there are rules. You know, at the Opera House and at other places. When you go out, you know, you don't sit. You know, like we observe the instructions in order for safety. Other people, if they don't, well, you know, like tough for them, they will just have it, or they might not have it. But what we have is not. You know, we don't have the numbers that are in the States, for example. She said here in the States, you know, it's really scary, the numbers. I was like, But we do have the preparations for that. And when at the very inception, we had Egyptians and even our kids and our children studying in the States, or even Egyptians, the double nationalities, they just, called the embassies and the consulates in order to go back to Egypt when there was a lockdown, and Egypt sent its own fleets and its own Egypt Air planes to go and for no money at all collect the Egyptians who were stranded abroad, or those who wanted to come back to Egypt during the scare of the COVID-19 and the danger of COVID-19 and the problems emanating there. Things were not orderly. They did not know how to deal with that. While here we had the hospitals and everything, and we knew how to deal with these cases. So I said, well, here, it's totally different. We didn't feel that. Plus, with the supermarkets, you go there, you find the food there. There is, stacking again of the food. If anything, finishes, there's always something there. Like they restock it. So we did not have shortage of food like Europe or the States. On the shelves in the supermarkets, you could find everything. Even we call by phone, and you get the delivery. So we did not have that. Thank God for everything, and for the government that was exerting all the efforts in order to make one safe. And we don't have this scare. People are not that scared, although some, of course, get infected by the COVID-19 if it's because it's there, but not the numbers that we see abroad. And we are just working on keeping the numbers minimal and the numbers of death minimal as much as we can.
That's Egypt. That is Egypt. If you look for major network,
I was very proud, by the way,
absolutely.
Because this is the truth.
That is Egypt. If you look for all network, TV network,
yes.
CBC, NBC, ABC, CNN, for example, most of them, they are working from home. And they have their program broadcasting through Zoom or Web Max, for example, to the audience. And here in Egypt, we have, that's a live interview, but we take care of washing hand, wearing mask, and when you enter the studio, it's really, it's a clean environment, and with social distance we follow. And Egypt is blessed also. If you look for the millions in the States, for example, in Europe, in India, for example, but Egypt is really blessed to have a very minimal number of cases, and death rate in Egypt, it is at the minimal compared to other country with the size of Egyptian population. So thanks God, we are really, as I told you before, we don't have food shortage. We have a food supply which is good enough for the next 6 months. It is not like big country like the States and Europe, where you go to the supermarket and you find nothing. They have a very big shortage, and they face a crisis from that also. That is Egypt, and that is the value of Egypt, and God blessed Egypt, really.
Definitely, definitely. Well, in light of everything, we have less than 3 minutes to go.
Sure.
How do you see the future? I'm not saying far, because there are unexpected things that happen, but then we are just, a few days entering a new year. So we all, praying that, we forget all the evil of the 2020, and, we go ahead for better times.
I was really very nice of Times magazine when they put X on 2020. We should really eliminate this year from our life with all the corona and COVID-19, with all this rate and all this crisis. And they have on the cover of Times magazine 2020, and they put X on it. So we delete it with all the debate and the negative effect and the negative impact which Egypt faces in many different avenues. We should cross it out from our life. I believe the future is for Egypt. I believe with all major infrastructure we are going on in terms of roads, tunnel, bridges, it will bring a lot of growth in our economical sector. I'm very, very optimistic when it comes to the future. I believe within few years you will see different Egypt, will see different industrial, the fourth industrial revolution will enter in Egypt. You will see a lot of major company from all over the world will come and invest in Egypt. I believe our employment rate it will be higher. We have to reduce the unemployment rate in Egypt. I believe our educational is going in a very positive direction.
Yeah.
I believe we have taken a good health care. Today is December 12, the International Day for Health. We have insured all Egyptian under the umbrella, which I prefer to call it as a very positive things for President Sisi. I should call it Sisi Care, which provide an umbrella for ensuring and taking care of the health of the Egyptian people. My recommendation through your program, we should call it as a Sisi Care agenda for the future.
Definitely. Well, Egypt is blessed, when I say it like that, and even, right now, like everything is just, even like, the land now is bringing its treasures. We see, lots of coffins, like with the excavations with Egyptian hands, that, we see more of the ancient Egyptian history, the great one, and we are heading into a great future.
2021 will have the mega opening for the Great Museum.
Yes.
And you will see most of the leaders of the world will come and participate in the opening of the Great Egyptian Museum, and you will see different Egypt in a very few years. In one hand, number of years, you will see different Egypt.
Definitely.
Keep hope alive and let our kids believe in Egypt, be loyal to the Egyptian flag, to the Egyptian anthem. Love your country, and the country will give you more and more in the future.
Definitely. Dr. Said Al-Khoury, thank you very much for being with us. It's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And it's always a pleasure being here and being with our audience. So again, until we see you again, have all the best from our Nile TV team. And God bless Egypt, God bless Egyptians, God bless our president, God bless our army, our white army, our police. And as we quote from the Holy Quran, ادخلوا مصر إن شاء الله آمنين, enter Egypt, God willing, safe. And from the Holy Bible, Mubarak Shabi Misr, blessed be Egypt, my people. I'm Nervina Zim saying golf, and we'll see you again next week. Goodbye for now. Thank you.